Hello, welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television International. We will be looking at quite a number of issues as they unfold and a number of stories that we think is quite of interest that we need to talk about it as it unfolds. Remember, we are live on Facebook and in YouTube. You can follow us live there. Drop your comment or your view on any of this issue we shall be tabling this afternoon. I have Rachel Tanzi with me. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, Celia.
All right, so we shall get the ball rolling, starting by the issue of the poll, talking about post-election or actually looking at off-cycle election in Bayelsa. You will recall that yesterday was when Bayelsa finished the coalition, and then finally Dire has been announced as the governor again. He has been re-elected as the governor of Bayelsa. A lot of congratulatory message has been flying, where we're even seeing the president Bola Tinubu congratulate him, and then Dire have promised to take everybody along. I know, Rachel, I love when I hear politicians saying the fact that they are willing to actually take everybody along. You know, I couldn't help but cast my mind back to when the president told the ministers that they are the minister of Nigeria,
Yes.
and not ministers for their ethnic groups or even their own state. And then here we are having Dire also saying the fact that he's going to take everybody along. And then I couldn't help but imagine, it doesn't just stop at the fact that you say that yes, you're going to take everybody along, but then it tells a lot on your action. Of course, we are seeing from the congratulative message that have been rolling out, a lot of people have stated their confidence that it is because he performed in his first year, and that is why that's talking about his first tenure.
Yes.
And that's why he has been re-elected again to be the governor of the state. But believe you me, Rachel, this is the time where he needs to tie his belt more tight. Of course, not only him, we saw other governors, even that of Imo State and of course of Kogi State, stating what they will do for their state. But beyond stating it or beyond saying it, because words are cheap, we need to see these leaders backing up their actions.
Sure.
Because it's one thing for you to say you do something, but then when you do not back it up with actions, a lot of people will take you to be one of those jokers around. So I'm happy, and then we are sending a congratulative message. Of course, we believe the opposition parties will definitely have something to say about the
They will,
election,
they will.
and then we'll definitely be heading to court again as usual. But then I am happy that it's kind of peaceful, because if you look at the way Bayelsa was, even though there was tension before the coalition, but then kind of a way we're seeing a little peace being there. But I am hoping that beyond these words, because that is it for me, that beyond words we'll see action backing up all of these words coming from the governor.
You know, Celia, an all-inclusive government is a government that has dealt with nepotism at every level. And now we are down to Bayelsa State, where Diri is saying he will carry everybody along. So it means that we would want to see a Bayelsa where, of course, there is no nepotism. That is, people from his local government areas are not favored more than other,
people.
because he is the governor of Bayelsa, not of a district, not of a local government, not of a certain ethnicity in that area. And this means there have to be like balance when it comes to appointment. And the most important thing for me that I see here, that if truly it was as a result of his performance in his first term, then we need to see continuity. That is, perhaps the project that was 50% in completion will now be 100%. That whatever it is that he have started putting in place for the people of Bayelsa, now he has 4 more years to complete it and then perfect it, so that in the end they will have a tenure where someone have served for 8 years, and then they will be able to have something to show for. And I believe that this has been the challenge for a lot of states that haven't grown in the past, is the fact that you give a governor 4 years, you give him another 4 years, and then there's nothing to show off. We have states that have felt such in the past, and we've also had states that have felt the impact of governors within between 8 years period, and then have seen something significant. So it's just an opportunity for him to continue the good work, and then hopefully Bayelsa will be able to say they've had 8 years of good leadership that brought in growth and development, and of course an inclusive government where everybody is truly represented and then carried along. Even if, for example, in your first year, in your first term, perhaps certain people were more represented, now you have the opportunity to
actually
mix it
balance
up
it.
exactly and balance it and give other local government and ethnic groups a place in your government and truly show your people that you mean what you say.
Well, just like you said, because this is really a test of governance. We keep saying that politics is over right now, and campaigning, bringing out your
Yes.
manifesto. It's time for us to see real governance at
is
this
time,
point in
Sarah,
time. So
yeah.
we hope that Governor Dire will actually not disappoint the people over there. We've
Yes.
seen the Joy Youth giving all their supports to him. I mean, for him to have over 10 local governments over there, that is to say that the people believe in him.
Yeah.
So just like you rightly stated, I hope that this next 4 years that have been given to him, he will not disappoint the people of Bayelsa State. Now to the main story for today. We're saying that already Labour have started an indefinite strike
Yes,
today.
sir.
I mean, the back and forth, will go today, no, will not go today. There
Yeah.
was a court judgment, no, it's over right now. They are on strike, and we're
Yeah.
seeing that they are calling on other bodies to actually join them on that strike. They've called the Union for Electricity, they have called the Aviation, they have called even ASU to
Yes.
actually join them in this strike. So before we go further, I would like us to just listen to the part of the federal government. Reason why? Because the federal government is telling Labour that they should actually retrace their steps backward, or they will sue them for contempt of court. So I would like us to listen to what the Minister of Labour and Employment said in September when they had that memorandum of understanding, and then some of the things they have promised Labour that they will do. If they do not do eventually, what it means is that if we do not meet up to your demands,
Yes.
you are free to go on strike. So I don't know if the control room can help us play that, talking about that video coming from the Minister of Labour and Employment.
Consequently, a meeting was called by the federal government to avert the strike, and after much discussion, the following agreements were reached. 1. The federal government grants a wage award of 35,000 naira only to all federal government workers, beginning from the month of September, pending when a new minimum wage is expected to have been signed into law. 2. A minimum wage committee shall be inaugurated within 1 month from the date of this agreement. 3. Federal government suspends collection of value-added tax VAT on diesel for 6 months beginning from October 2023. 4. Federal government accepts to vote 100 billion for the provision of high-capacity buses for mass transit in Nigeria, that is CNG. Provisions are also being made for initial 54,000 CNG conversion kits to kickstart an auto gas conversion program. Whilst work is ongoing on the start of the state-of-the-art CNG station nationwide, the rollout aims to commence by November with pilots across 10 campuses nationwide. 5. The federal government plans to implement various tax incentive measures for private sector and the general public. 6. On the leadership crisis rocking the NURTW and the purported proscription of Retian, RTEN, the federal government commits to handling labor matters in line with relevant ILO conventions and Nigerian Labor Acts. A resolution of the ongoing impasse is expected by or before October 13. 7. The issue of outstanding salaries and wages of tertiary education workers in federal-owned educational institutions is being referred to Ministry of Labor and Employment for further engagement. 8. The federal government commits to pay 25,000 per month for 3 months, starting from October 2023, to 15 million households, including vulnerable pensioners. 9. The federal government will increase its initiative on subsidized distribution of fertilizers to farmers across the country. 10. The federal government should urge state government through the National Economic Council and Governors Forum to implement wage award to their workers. Similar consideration should also be given to local governments and the private sector workers. 11. The federal government commits to the provisions of funds as announced by President on the 1st of August broadcast to the nation for micro and small scale enterprises. The MSME's beneficiaries should commit to the principle of decent jobs. 12. A joint visitation will be made to the refineries to ascertain their rehabilitation status. 13. All parties commit to henceforth abide by the dictates of social dialogue in all our future engagements. 14. The NLC and the TUC accept to suspend for 30 days the planned indefinite nationwide strike scheduled to begin Tuesday, the 3rd of October 2023. And 15. This memorandum shall be filed with the relevant court of competent jurisdiction within 1 week as consent judgment by the federal government.
Well, that was the Minister of Labor and Employment, Simon Lalong. Now, Rachel, you listened attentively to every point that the federal government promised to do. In fact, this was filed already, so that any party that actually did not meet up, that is to say there is a penalty for not meeting up. So I want to hear your own views on it.
I mean, Sarah, the more I'm listening to the Minister of Labor and Employment, the more I'm wowed by the way the federal government of Nigeria decides to go and handle certain things. And in the morning show, I emphasized the fact that why does the judiciary allow the government to use them like puppets when you clearly know what is obtainable and what isn't? Now, if you look at everything, this is documented, and this is caught in line. If you asked labor to suspend their strike and you gave them a time frame and you don't meet it, the court order expires because it has a time frame. And the most recent one is that of the bosses in the university, that by November, and we are in November, and there is no CNG buses on campuses yet. And you said it that labor was to suspend their strike for 30 days, and this is in line with the court order for them not to. You said by September, this was in September, and you said there was October, and then in the October you still gave them, they said they should suspend for another 30 days to November. And so we have 15 points, and basically not one has been done by the federal government of Nigeria. Not one has been done. With everything that the Minister of Labor have listed, not one has started rolling out or being in place. And if it is by virtue of them suspending it based on this agreement and meeting, and you clearly stated it is filed, then it simply means that after this period of time which you have given labor and have filed this, they can go for their strike because they adhered to you. You gave them time. They agreed to the time you gave them. They waited for you. And then after the time expired, because this is a game of time, you gave us time that you will do certain things and you didn't do it. So if we are to sit down and say there is no contempt of court in this situation as it is now, because even court works with date, even court works with time. Exactly. So there is no court contempt here whatsoever, because labor agreed to your terms. You agreed to labor's term. You gave them a time frame. They waited for that time frame, and not even one thing has been implemented or started rolling out from the federal government up till this point in time. So when you look at it, labor gave the federal government a long rope. And if there's anybody here, maybe to point fingers, maybe because I'm part of the masses, maybe because I'm on the side where the hardship of the economy is being felt, maybe. But I believe that we are media and we're here to point out, we're not taking side seller, is that this is what the Minister of Labor have said. And then we are working with both parties here. Did NLC keep to their side of the bargain? Yes, they did. Did the federal government keep to their side of the bargain? No, they haven't. And that is where NLC is coming to say, we have waited, we've given you long ropes, we kept on suspending, we kept on adhering to your court order, and then finally it has expired because you've given us 30 days and 30 days and 30 days, and we kept on adhering, and then this is now the action we're going to take after it. So I don't see a court contempt here. I don't see it at all. All I'm saying is that two parties involved, one haven't kept to their own side of the bargain.
You know, Richard, you rightly stated, I mean, one party definitely defaulted, because that is why we are here discussing what we are discussing at the moment. And you will recall that the most recent reason Labour have added to the many other reasons they are giving the federal government is the assault on the, talking about the Labour chairman, Joe Ajaero. And then the federal government is still in adamant to bring the people who actually did that to book. We saw they started from Imo State, and then they actually gave the federal government ample time. And they said they will be starting the strike today, and they are. And a lot of Nigerians cannot help but say it seems as if the federal government wants to emotionally blackmail Labour, because they tend to be using the masses as a reason, saying that the economy is going to suffer. But then the question here will be, did the federal government not think or consider the masses before refusing to actually adhere to set of this thing? Yes, talking about the fact that they said about 25,000 will be given to 15 million homes and all of that. We saw where even the check was being launched by the humanitarian.
We saw that, yes.
But how many more people, apart from the people we saw?
There were more sellers we would have heard, because the government would be very loud about it. It's clear if few people got and made it to national television, trust me, when millions or hundreds of thousands get that amount, the government will loud it enough for everybody to know that they have adhered. And of course, NLC will be more patient because these things have started rolling out. But you can't just call and just put out a show. I see it as a show. Let's just give these few people this palliative. But you said 15 million households. 10-20 people is not 15 million households. If we're to minus the 10 out of the 15 million, we still have 14,900,099, blah blah blah. We can do the math and still go on. So you have done 0.0000% of what you are expected to do, and then for that reason you give Labour no option.
You know, Rachel, just while you were talking, I couldn't help but cast my mind back to the fact that we're talking about lawmakers are actually having SUVs. Then the question will be, how long did it take the federal government to sign those SUVs?
Weeks
for
and
them?
days.
It didn't take them long. So why are we having the federal government playing with the emotions of Nigerians?
Right.
Because just like you said, we are not here to take side. We are the watchdog. So it is our responsibility to keep the government on their toe and to remind them, just in case they have forgotten promises they made.
Yes.
I mean, there were a lot of, let's even leave this memorandum of understanding one side. There were a lot of lists that we saw the administration or Tinubu and his cabinet, part of the things they have, an agenda that they were hoping to meet. And we're still seeing that quite a number of them have not been met. We're still having the issue of insecurity. We're still having the issue of farmers are complaining, no fertilizer, how much is fertilizer? And then we're supposed to be having irrigation farming soon because it's already the dry season. And then how many farmers can actually say, yes, we got the fertilizer, that the federal government, apart from states that are trying their best to come in. Today we saw where Edo State is actually trying to see how he can increase the number of days for free transport for people over there. And we're seeing how governors are trying their best in their own side. And so I'm just hoping, honestly, Rachel, just like we said, that the government will actually adhere and actually maybe redeem themselves, protect themselves from all of these backlashes that are coming from the people, and at least try and be earnest enough to actually meet up with all of this that we have on the memorandum of understanding. Well, let's quickly round it up with the issue of health. I think it's important. Today is International Diabetes Day. Every 14th of November has been celebrated as Diabetes Day, and it's another 14th of November where we have to remember that in Nigeria alone, we're having about 11.2 million Nigerians that are actually suffering from diabetes. It's either we're talking about diabetes 1 or diabetes 2. I know that diabetes 1 is actually talking about those that are preventive and those that are not preventive. And quite a number of things, and it breaks my heart when you look at the numbers of people, and a number of people will not even go get themselves tested. That is even the point
That
here.
is the problem.
And then you just stay there until you started noticing certain things. Your vision is getting blurred. You're beginning to feel numb in your limbs before you get to the hospital, and then you realize that it's actually out of control. I know a number of people, Rachel, and I know you know a number of people who have actually lost one limb or another. Why? Because of the issue of diabetes. And I think
Yes.
it's important that we bring this. You and I have always said we shouldn't wait until we are having an international day before we make
Before
all
we
of these
talk
things
about
known.
certain
I think
things,
it
yes.
is important that every day, as much as you can, visit any healthcare center close to you, get yourself tested. We keep saying, it's cheaper. Imagine if you just have to use 1,000 naira to get tested.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, you don't get tested, and then you spend over millions of naira trying to get yourself treated. So I think it's important that we let our viewers at home know that it's important you get yourself tested, even as we are celebrating the International Day for Diabetes.
Stella, I believe that there are two deadly gaps in the health sector in Nigeria that needs to be filled up. And then the number one gap is the accessibility of healthcare facilities and services. Whether we like it or not, is a gap. And then the second is the information on the healthcare services that are available. Because a lot of people don't know that it's that easy to check your sugar level. A lot of people don't know that you can keep tabs. I think it's because of the current economy, but it wasn't more than 200 naira. I think 2 years back, because inflation just turned out to be crazy within a short period of time in Nigeria. And with the dollar inflation,
And
we saw how
accessibility.
how pharmaceuticals just went as high as over 160%. It wasn't long. There was a time to just go and check your sugar level was just 200. So imagine if we have people knowing this information, that you can walk to a pharmacy and just know your sugar level. So we have an information gap that is also very deadly. That in as much as there is a gap in the access or the availability of certain healthcare services, people also lack the information on what healthcare service is very affordable or very available and not as difficult to access like the others. And this is where I feel the work needs to be done concerning everything, because one thing that is common about every disease, every killing terminal disease, is that early detection always saves life. Be it cancer, be it the diabetes, be it the hepatitis, be it everything that kills millions and millions of people on a daily basis. One thing is just common about all of them is early detection. And same for diabetes. If today you are to walk into a pharmacy and check your sugar level, the moment the pharmacist tell you it's a little bit high, it means automatically you are to go back and cut down sugar consumption. You have to automatically go back and watch your diet. You automatically start doing the things that will make sure this sugar level goes back to normal. But it keeps accumulating because you don't check. It keeps accumulating until it gets to the point you don't know. Because if you had checked and know it is at a little bit on the danger side, you would start watching. But because you never checked, you just kept on with your unhealthy eating habit and all of that, and then it kept accumulating too. So I believe it's the information. People need to know that certain healthcare services are available, is affordable, and is very deadly, but it's cheap for you to prevent it than to treat it. And I think these are the kind of information that we need in the health sector, and it can be applicable not only to diabetes but every other. But since today is for diabetes, we will lay the emphasis, exactly, on diabetes.
You're very right, Rachel, talking about the information gap, and I can't help but imagine those rural areas that have no idea. And you make mention of something very important, is how accessible are these things. In as much as it's cheap, but that has not made it accessible to
True.
Nigerians over the years. And no wonder we keep having people, even in the urban area, falling victim to this. And you
True.
wonder, you're supposed to have access to all of these
Yes.
things. What happened? You don't have access to it. So we are hoping that as we celebrate this day, which is an international day, that a lot of people will know how important it is for you to know your sugar level. And it
Yes.
breaks my heart that it's not only adults that are suffering from
It's
this
not
thing,
only
Rachel.
some
Even
children are born with it, and that's the saddest
Some people
part
are
of
born
it.
with it, so
Yeah.
it's important that we create or make it a habit to actually go and always check on our health, not just diabetes but any other
Everything,
illness.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel,
You're
for doing the
welcome,
program
Sarah.
with me, and thank you to our viewers and our supporters at home for keeping the day with us on Nigeria Now. Until again, do have a blessed day ahead.